Annette, we're live.
Hi,
How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
I'm so excited to speak to you. We have something in common that I have not had in common with any other speaker on our Women Investor podcast.
What is that? I'm curious.
I also was involved in a construction event,
Oh, wow. Those were fun.
right? Stacking
Yes.
cans. But with your architectural background, I'm sure yours looked much better than ours.
We have to compare pictures now.
We
It
do, we
was super
do.
fun though, and it was for a good cause.
Absolutely. So for those of you that don't know what construction is, it's where companies get together and they stack thousands and thousands of cans of food in architectural, beauties, and sometimes there's a theme. And at the end of the event, we had ours in a mall. Where did you have yours?
Yes, it was in a mall in the Palm Beach Mall.
Right. And so people can come and look at these beautiful structures, and at the end, a food bank or a food pantry or multiple food banks and food pantries gets thousands of these cans of food. And it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah.
We did once, it was a structure and we didn't know if it was gonna be able to be supported. So we had to literally structurally support it with extra pieces. So it was super fun. I think we did it 3 years.
You know what's so funny too? I don't know if you noticed this, and then I promise the audience we'll get to real estate. But what's so funny is sometimes you couldn't see what it was unless you took a picture on your phone, and then the picture on your phone went, oh, it's the Statue of Liberty, or you know what I mean? It was
Yes.
weird how when you took a picture, it was clear what the structure was.
Yes, yeah, and because we were color coordinating the cans to make it look like the
Yes.
what we were trying to create. So it was a lot of work. We created 3D models, and then we stuck the cans,
Crazy.
and then you have a time frame to build it. You had only certain amount of hours to build it. So
Yes.
it was super fun.
So when I was reading your bio, I was like, oh, this is awesome. We have something in common. So Annette lives in South Florida like me, but in Palm Beach County. She's
Correct.
an architect by trade and education. She invests, you have 64 multifamily units in your own
Correct.
portfolio, right?
Yes.
And she has I don't know when you sleep. She has a podcast called the Real Estate Closers Podcast. Yes?
Yes.
Real Estate Deal Closers Podcast. And you do a meetup. I can't wait to talk about the meetup. What does the meetup do?
So it's just a networking event. I hold it the third Wednesday of the month. We just changed locations to Duffy's in Delray Beach. And it's just really investors coming together and talking about deals. What are they looking for? New people, experienced people, lenders. You go there and you just talk. There's no presentations. It's free. Nobody's trying to sell you anything. So because when I started, I was looking for meetups, and first of all a lot of them were during the day, and I was working at that time, so I couldn't attend. And then they charge money to go in, so you didn't even know if you're gonna like it, and you had to pay to go. So when I decided to actually, I took over this this meetup about 3 years ago, and I loved it because there is no fees and it was just networking. So I've been doing it for the last 3 years, and it's been wonderful.
I need to come.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so let's go back to your first investor purchase, because that's what our audience loves to hear about, stories of that. So when did you make your first purchase as an investor?
So I started investing in 2013, right after I had my daughter, Sienna. We were actually looking for before, but it took us an entire year of looking at different deals to be able to pull the plug. So I know that sometimes you have this analysis paralysis, and we couldn't find something that we felt comfortable with. And so that first purchase took an entire year to do, but we were super happy with what we bought. It was ready to rent. We got it empty. We bought it for, at that time, 100,000. It was a duplex, so 50,000 a unit, and the rents then were 500. And so I was doing the 1% rule. And now the rents on that are $1,600 on each side.
Okay, so stop for a second. Where was it?
Mm-hmm.
What was it in South Florida?
Yes. So when I started, I wanted something near me, that it was between my house and my job, because I was working full time. So I wanted to be able to, either on the way to work, on the way back, stop and look at it. And like, I wanted to touch it, feel it, and make sure that it was there. So I started with something local. I started with multifamily, a duplex, because I always thought, okay, so if I buy a house and the renter leaves, then my house is empty, zero income. But if I have a duplex, even if one side leaves, then at least I have half the rent coming in. And at that time, we bought it cash, so we could only afford to buy that. So that's what we did. We took as much as we can, and like, we bought the bigger we could at that time. So that's what we did.
That's amazing. And so you've owned it. You still own it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so it's 2013. Great. And when you said that you looked at a lot of deals, was that 50? Was that 25? How many was a lot before you found this one?
Well, we were looking at deals every weekend and for a year. So I think we put at least, I want to say 10 offers. And like, it was when the market was super low, but it was starting to go up, right? So,
Right.
We started looking for $40,000 properties, because at that time there were $40,000 properties, but they were like wood construction, which I don't buy and I didn't feel comfortable with, and they were in not so good, very good neighborhoods. So we kind of kept saving, and we kept increasing our budget until we found this property, and I think it was listed for 80, and then there was like a bidding fight. And so my mentor said, like, okay, so if you look back 10 years from now and you lose this property because you didn't offer some extra money, what are you going to think about? Like, so I was like, okay, I'm going for 100. So I offered like 20,000 over asking price. There were 3 people final, right? So they asked 3 people to give us the best and final. And I was like, okay, I don't want to lose this deal for like $10,000, which in the long run, in the mortgage, wasn't that much money, maybe $100 more. Well, actually, we were cash, so it didn't matter. But if you think about that when you're buying, like if it's how much is going to make a difference in the monthly payment, and then if you look back in 10 years, are you going to be upset that you didn't get it? So that was like great advice. So I was like, okay, I'm going, 20,000 more, and we did 20,000 like and some extra money, so in case somebody had 10,000 more, like 20,000 more, but then we didn't get it because of a few dollars.
Right.
So we went like 20,000 and 1,000 more. I don't know, something extra. And we ended up getting it.
That's amazing. How were you scared when they said, okay, it's yours? Were you like?
I think we were looking for such a long time. And at that time, my husband was very involved in like looking for the properties. And he's like, I am the go-getter and like, I'm ready to do it. And he's like the down to earth, like, no, I don't like this property because of this. And I think that's why it took so long too, because I was ready. And he was like, no, I don't like the location. No, I don't like this. No, I don't like that. And so, I mean, I think he saved us from some disasters, to be honest with you, but I was ready to go. And once we got this one, we were ready. So we were excited. And at that time, it's a long story, but like I was pregnant and I didn't want to go back to work full time. So this was like when we bought it, I was already managing properties for another investor and I was learning everything. So during that year, when I was already pregnant, I started managing properties, and all that fear that I had on dealing with tenants and contracts and all of this, I was learning all that year with working for somebody else. And so by the time that I got my own property, I was ready. And it was
were you working for the guy or the person that you called your mentor?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So what you referenced something earlier called the 1% rule. I don't know what that is.
Okay. So I don't know if it applies to everything, but in multifamily, you want the purchase price to be 1% of the rents that you get monthly. So let's say if you buy $100,000 property, your rents need to be $1,000 a month. So at that time, the rents were $500. And
And
the
did you
great
lease
thing
it
about,
right away? Where you said you bought them, when you bought it, it was both vacant.
yes,
Did you have to invest money in the property to? No.
this property was ready to go. The owner like landscaped it. He like really had it ready and empty for somebody else to just put the ad and rent it. You know what? The only thing we had to do is the bedrooms didn't have air conditioning, so we added air conditioning to the two bedrooms, which was just wall units, and that was maybe, I don't know, $1,000. So, but it was nothing. It was like in the scheme of things, it was just ready to go. Most of the properties that we were looking at the time, they had we had to do more stuff than that. And this deal, we saw it. I think my husband found it online on a Friday, or maybe I found it. And then I called him and I said, "You need to drive by this property after work." He drove by. We called that night the realtor and I said, "You need to send an offer today." So she sent the offer that night. And the next day said, like, "We're not going to answer anything because we have a lot of offers. We're going to wait until Monday." So Monday came and they gave us three people, "Send us your best and final." And we were between those three people. We offered and then we got it. But it was like everybody knew it was, I think they underpriced it to get a lot of interest. And so, that's why we knew we could rent it for 500. So we offered 100,000 because that was like a 1%.
So you leased it right away.
And we ended up leasing it for like $550.
Amazing. How long did those tenants stay? Are those still the tenants today, or no? The
No,
original.
it's been, my daughter is 11, right? So it's been 10 years. But actually, I think the first tenant stayed like 2 years, like on each side, and then we had some. But right now, I have some tenants on both sides actually that are there for at least 4 years.
That's
So
amazing.
this is a place that stays full all the time. I haven't had any vacancy.
And you're up to $1,600 a month each.
Yes.
So did you ever refi it, or you never put a loan on it?
Yeah, no. So that was my first property, and then we're like, I kind of liked it. The idea behind it was that first of all, we're both architects, my husband and I. So we didn't want to have all our eggs in one basket because we went through the recession in 2008 where my husband lost his job, my hours were reduced. So we saw a big impact when we are both on the same industry. So we're like, okay, what else can we do so that we don't depend on our jobs alone? And so real estate was always like the first in line. And the other reason was I investigated the college programs for my daughter, the prepaid college, and I thought it was just crazy. And I thought, okay, if I buy a property by the time that she's, going to college, I can use the rent, or I can sell it, or I can refinance. But then I'm going to have an asset that I can use instead of putting that money in, and I'm not going to get really any return.
So smart. I wish I would have done that.
Thank you.
I did the prepaid, but I also bought some property.
Right. So by the time, we did not own a home. We bought this property before we bought our home. And so then, the year, 2 years later, I think we bought our home. And then I was pregnant again with my second child. And I told my husband, we got to buy another duplex because my son also needs college education. So we were like in a really saving mode at that time. Like we wouldn't spend on anything. So we saved enough money to put a down payment on a second property. So my second property, it was twice the price, $200,000 for 2 units. Okay, in a period probably of maybe 2-3 years.
Were you nervous?
I really like this property and my husband did not like it. And, we actually lost it. It went under contract with somebody else and I was upset with my husband, but we were still cautious, right? So I was like, I really like this property. You didn't let me buy it. And then one night I'm looking online and I see like right there, back on the market. And I'm like, this is mine. So I called the realtor and I said, we gotta go. You gotta make an appointment right away. And we went to see the property the next day. And they were like, the seller was showing it. She was living in one side. So she told the realtor how much she wanted. So we offered exactly what she wanted. And we were under contract the next day. And so that one was a little bit less, we were less nervous. We knew what we were doing. I was already managing 16 units for somebody else for like 3 years. So that one was a lot easier. And so we financed that. And I was like, okay, I really like this, but I don't have any more money. what can I do to do more? So my house had acquired a lot of value, so I was able to do a HELOC and buy a third duplex with that money. A HELOC
Woo!
is a home equity line of credit. It's like a credit card, so you don't pay interest unless you use the money. And so with that line of credit, I bought this third duplex, and it barely cash flow. Like, it made enough money to just go by, but like I knew it was going to acquire value. And so then I had no money, right? And I was like, okay, what can I do to get more money? I want to buy more. And I'm like, wait, I have that duplex that I bought 5 years ago or 3 years ago. I don't remember anymore. And let me see what I can do. So I ended up refinancing that property and taking out, I bought it for 100. I took out 150,000. So I
Wow.
took $50,000 more than what I put into it. And then I
Amazing.
still own that property, still cash flows, still gives me, it's acquiring more value with time. And now I have $150,000. So with those, I bought a 6 unit.
There you go. Good
And that's
job.
when I was like, boom, like, this is the way to do it, right? Like, we gotta cash out, refi, and keep going. And so that 6 unit was my first commercial property in terms of multifamily, right? Like up to 4 units is residential, and then 5 to up is commercial. So that was my first commercial loan, and I had to jump through so many hoops because it's different, right? It's not like the same. They look at the
Right.
income. The
Right.
banks are super strict. So we bought that one, and funny story, I just refinanced that 6 unit. So I put a down payment of 140,000 on that 6 unit 5 years ago, and I just took out 370,000.
Amazing. What was the price of that when you bought it?
I want to say around 600,000 when I bought it. The down payment was 140.
Awesome.
And now it appraised at 1.125.
Congratulations. You're a little mogul. How old is your son?
My son is 8 and my daughter is 11.
So but you own 64 units.
Correct.
So let's talk about the most recent acquisition.
The most recent acquisition. So I had two that I did in December of this year, this past year. So I bought a 12 unit seller finance. Wait, no, that was before. That was at the beginning of the year. So at the beginning of last year, I bought a 12 unit seller financing, which I think is the best strategy right now because of the interest rates and all of that. And then at the end of the year, I bought 7 units that I did with 2 partners. And that's how I was able to buy more and faster, is I started partnering with people to buy more units. And then I bought a 4 unit seller financing as well.
So you were doing duplex 6 unit, and then you did a 12 unit, but now you'll still do a 4 unit. So I'm challenging you to go buy the 50 unit.
I am actually right now, my goal is to buy a 20 unit because my last purchase was like the bigger one was 12. So with this money that I have now, I want to buy a 20 unit, hopefully seller financing.
Right.
I'm looking. I bought the 4 unit because it was seller financing, no payments for 6 months. It needed a lot of work. I put down $15,000 and I bought it for $350,000. But I know it's worth $600,000.
Awesome. Well, of course, you didn't want to pass that up. So where do you find your partners? Are they family and friends partners?
No, I go to conferences like yours, which was amazing. I met a lot of amazing investors. My meetup, friends as well. Like one of my partners is it's the mom of a girl that is in my daughter's school. And we started talking about real estate.
How do you structure the partnerships?
It's depending on the deal, right? Okay. Like how much money each one is bringing, how much work are they going to be doing, who found the deal. It's kind of like you divide it depending on the contributions of everybody. So the way I like to do it is I always do the management for 1 year because I'm going to reposition the property. But we budget to have a 10% management fee on the deal so that if eventually they want a different manager or I don't have time to manage anymore, then we have it on the budget. But during that first year, I do all the remodeling, all the the raising the
Rent.
rents, changing tenants if we need to have new tenants because some tenants are just problematic. So all that happens in the first year. So it's very important for me to be in control of that first year.
And
And
are
then
all the 64 units in Palm Beach County?
no. So after I bought the 6 units, I started looking for larger stuff. I actually invested in Ohio as well.
Where?
Yes, I
What
had
city?
in Dayton, Ohio, I did 4 units with a
Awesome.
partner. That did not go very well. This partner wasn't doing her part. So we decided to part ways. We did multiple things. She ended up buying me out, which was perfect. And then I did a syndication also in Columbus, Ohio. It was 194 units. I was part of the GP team. And it was a good deal. I think our investors got a really good return, but we were supposed to hold this property for 5 years, but we ended up getting an offer at year 2. And we had been having hard time with COVID happening with the supplies. So like all the renovations that were supposed to take a year it took a year and a
Right.
half.
Right.
So when we got that offer and our investors were going to get a lot of the return in such a short time, we decided to sell. And I think it was the best decision we did because interest rates went up right after.
Right.
So the people that bought our property and we were under contract with, they had to extend the contract 3 times because they couldn't find a bank to finance. And they had a lot of money hard on the deal. So they couldn't really back out or they were going to lose a lot of money. But they finally got their financing together and they were able to close. But
Do you
it
like
was perfect timing.
syndications, like big syndications like that? Or do you prefer doing it yourself or with just a couple partners?
What I learned with the big syndications, and we were a big team. And
How many in the team?
so we were like 4 different entities. One had 3 people, the other one had 4. I was by myself, and then another investor by himself. So it was a lot of people. And even though they are amazing and I would partner with them again, I would not want to have a team that was that big because then there is like communication breaks, right?
I didn't know that was a thing at all until someone invited me to a webinar on a deal that was for sale, and up pops like 12 pictures. And I'm thinking, who are these people? Like I thought I was listening to these 2 people. And I'm like, who are these people? I'm like, waiting, who are these people? And then it turned out that they were all GPs. And I'm like, what?
Yes.
It was a new thing for me. I had never heard of such a thing.
Right. I think it was it was a big team and we did a good job, but I decided I want to do something with less people. I just prefer to be, and I decided I want to be closer to me as well because I have been doing stuff by myself and I decided, okay, I can do this in a smaller scale, but close to me where I can be able to control the deal, the renovations and the results basically.
Yeah. So how did you find out about my conference?
My friend Natasha invited me.
You're friends with Natasha. That's
Yes.
awesome. That's
Yes.
awesome. Okay. So what's one of the biggest lessons you've learned since 2013 in your investing?
Buy now. Not later. Like don't wait.
Right. Don't wait to invest and wait, right?
Exactly. Totally. Because that property that I bought for $100,000, if I waited 1 year, it would have cost me 200,000, right? Because the second one that I bought that was very similar cost me twice as much. So the longer you like the property that I bought for 600,000 now is worth 1.1 million. So, in 5 years. So as long as you buy and the numbers work, and that's very important. If the numbers work now and you can cover your debt service, which is your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, and you have some extra money, some cash flow, the deal is going to continue. Even if the prices drop, and you can pay your mortgage, you just need to wait it out because the real estate goes in waves, right? It goes up and down.
Yeah, I was just telling someone in 1988, probably before you were born, I bought my first townhouse when I got married, and we sold it in 1997. We bought it for $100,000 in 1988, and guess what we sold it for in 1997? $99,000.
Ooh.
Now, we loved living there, loved
Mhm.
it. It was the best starter home.
Mhm.
We then went and bought a 5-bedroom, 4-bath on 2 acres for $440,000.
Mhm.
And we were never going to stay at that house for those 10 years, but we loved it. We started looking to buy another house, I think in the 8th year, and it took us 2 years to find our dream home, which I live in now. It just got appraised at 1.4 and we bought it for 440. But that it is important for investors to know, just because we've lived in a time where everything appreciates now, there was a 9-year time frame, or from 88 to 97, 9 years, that nothing appreciated. So,
Mhm.
but like you said, if the numbers work, then they're cash flowing, and you just have to wait because then look what happened to
Mhm.
my next property. It
Mhm.
appreciated, right?
Correct. Yeah, and sometimes, as long, I think when the only times that you are going to lose, if you have to sell for something that is totally outside your control, like you get divorced and now you have to sell, and then you have to say at a loss, but it's not because of the real estate necessarily, it's just like a bad timing, right?
Right, right.
But if you are able, if the numbers work and you're able to wait, then you're not going to lose money.
So as you know, because at the conference we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So is there anything that you like? What was something that happened that was not great? Because this is all great stuff. Has it always been this perfect?
No, actually, it's so funny because I remember doing an interview like 3 years ago, and somebody asked me that, and I'm like, I've been very lucky. Like, there's nothing that has gone wrong, and since,
That you jinxed yourself by saying that, right?
right? Yeah. So I think the only bad experiences that I've had is when I have partnered with people that don't do their side of the deal, or that are difficult to work with, to be honest. And that's why now I'm very cautious who I partner with. I gotta get to know you, and make sure that not only that, like, we have the same goals, but like personalities don't clash. Because I met somebody recently that I thought I could partner with, and I was super excited. And when I got to spend more time with that person, I was like, I don't like her. I don't like her vibe. I don't, and she could be a wonderful investor, but if we don't get along,
Right.
nothing is gonna
Well, have you
happen.
ever just thought about doing what Natasha does, or what I do, where you're just the only GP and you have LPs? So it doesn't, like, when I buy a deal, I syndicate it, I bring
Mhm.
LPs in, but they don't have a vote. They don't participate with me in management. I'm the decision maker, but we all make money together. So I
Right.
don't, so yeah. And certainly I've had partners. I've been doing this since 1992, investing, and I've been in all kinds of partnerships. And, I recently bought someone out of one of my deals. I was very, very grateful, because this particular person was just not a great LP partner, meaning they were calling all the time and questioning the strategy and questioning. And then, that if I, like, when I invest with Natasha, I never talk to Natasha. I give a
Right.
check and get a check. Like, just, do what you said. Give me, and she does. And I was doing what I was saying, but he was, this person was recently retired and had a lot of time on his hands. So
Yes.
he thought he wanted to be kind of part of the GP, and I was very happy to buy him out.
Yeah, I am open to it. And that's why, like, when, like, I have small kids right now still. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. So I love working, and I'm a little bit of a workaholic. I feel if I started syndicating, I would like work even more. And so I like to focus on like mid-sized deals. I want to keep buying bigger ones, but I don't want to syndicate right now. I don't think it's a good fit for my lifestyle, dealing with like so many. Maybe I can hire out. I'm open to it. I'm not closing the door on that, because I've done it before and I can do it. I have raised capital and all of that. And I do have a bunch of investors that are always telling me, like, if you find a deal, like, let me know. If you find a
Right.
deal, let me know. But I don't want to raise capital for other people that I don't know that they can
Oh,
perform. That's I don't want to be a capital
no.
raiser for
Yeah.
somebody else.
Oh, no. Yeah, don't do that. I don't do that. I saw that. I saw when we were prepping for this, I was looking at your podcast and I saw some very interesting titles of some of the podcasts about being a capital raiser. Like I really didn't even know that was a thing. I'm learning from you. I didn't know about the 1% thing. I didn't know that there were people that actually went out and raised money for deals because I
Yeah,
just have
so
always done it.
in that team that you saw, the 12 people, probably half of them were only raising capital, which is mean they were like talking to people about the deal that they have, but it's really somebody else's deal and they are just raising capital for it. And I think right now it's a very risky proposition. There's a lot of people going into foreclosure, especially in the multifamily area, because the deal could have been amazing, but if they didn't have a good team managing it properly,
Right.
like a great deal can turn into a really bad deal. The other reason why I like to do partnerships versus syndication is because you don't have to sell. As a team, you can decide to keep it for the longest time.
Right.
And the other thing is you get way more piece of a pie. Like if I partner with you, you're going to get like 15 to 25% of the deal. When you're an LP, you are going to get like 0.0% of like, could be a
Right.
huge syndication, but then you sell and then you have nothing. So with the partnerships, for example, we have a 9-unit that we bought 2 years ago. I did it with two partners. We bought it for 700,000. We renovated in a year. I was managing. I did all the management and all of that. And in 1 year, I think it was 14 months, we refinanced. We cash out all the money that my investor partners put. So they put 100 each. So there was 200,000 in the deal, and they got their money back. And now any cash flow, any future money that we get, it's an infinite return because they don't have any money on the deal. So I like that better. And now we are partners 30% each.
That's
30,
great.
33, 33, 34%. So that it's way more. I mean, the gains that they had on just this deal from 700,000 to 1.3, I think it appraised. So they got their money back, and they also got like a $40,000 check on top of it. And then we have this amazing property where we started with rents over there at 700. These are 1-bedroom apartments that are renting right now for 1,600.
Amazing.
So it's amazing.
Are you trying to just buy now in South Florida?
I love South Florida because I'm here and I know the appreciation here is amazing. But I have properties all the way to Volusia County, which is Daytona area. So I have 25 units over there, and then the rest is down here in South Florida. So and I have one in Palm Bay, which is a 7-unit. So right now, my focus is on anything from Palm Beach County all the way to Volusia, 95 East,
And
or maybe close to 95.
Yeah, I grew up in Flagler County, so I know Volusia very well. Who manages the stuff in Volusia?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
And you manage the Palm Bay stuff?
I manage all of my properties.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I like the control.
You cannot, like that, like a bad manager will ruin the deal.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're coming to the end. What advice is your best advice besides just start now? Because you already gave that advice. What's some other good advice for people that you met at the conference that haven't started yet?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I know you're going to say just start, but it's hard to start. It's hard to start, right?
Yeah, like, okay, I would say a couple of things. Start attending more events, meetups, and conferences. There is so many right now. I get so many invitations that I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot do all. But like the meetups, I think is a really great way to meet other people in your area, because you're going to be going to a meetup in your area, and you're going to, if you go constantly, like every month, every week, you're going to see who are the serious people, because there's people that go there one time and never show up again. But when you go constantly, you're going to see who are the people that are doing deals, who are really buying, who are managing, who are having good experiences. You're going to get to know people and become friends. And then you're going to feel more comfortable partnering with other people because you know them. So
how did you meet Natasha?
Natasha, actually, I met Natasha through Shannon.
Oh, yes, Shannon,
Yes.
who
So
spoke at
who
my
spoke at
conference.
both of them are speakers at
Yes.
your conference.
Yeah,
And I met Shannon at a conference in Miami.
got it.
So we started doing like a little launch every month, and then she's like, I met this amazing investor, Natasha, let's invite her to our launch. So we do this launch every month. Right now, like every 2 months, because we've been very busy, but we try to keep, that's the thing. If you meet these people that are amazing and they are doing what you want to do, like try to get to meet with them, share ideas. Like I got a virtual assistant, and then I shared it with Natasha, and then she got one, so you
Yes,
start sharing the stuff that is working for you, and then you warn people about the stuff that is not working for you. You share resources as well, like, hey, I need to do a cost segregation. Like, do you have somebody? We introduce people to each other. Like, I have my VA. I have a VA, but I want to have an executive assistant now. So I need somebody with a little bit more knowledge. So I was asking Natasha. She's super happy with hers.
yeah,
So, how did you hire her? And she just sent me the contact to hire mine. So that stuff you can only do when you are talking to people that are doing what you want to do. So
exactly.
definitely go to meetups, go to conferences. What was the other thing I was going to say? Obviously, start now and don't wait. And then, that's very important. Follow like your intuition, your gut feeling, right? Like with the first partner that I was going that didn't go very well, and she ended up buying me out. um, I had this feeling that everything looked good, everything looked fine, and everything checked, but I still had this like hesitation. And I thought it was because it was the first time that I was going to partner with somebody. But no, it was like something was telling me don't do it, and I still did it. It turned out well, and I made money, but it was a little bit of a rocky road, right? And then the second partnership that didn't work out, that one like really surprised me because I thought it was going to be a great partner. But our problem, I think the main problem was that we had the same backgrounds and the same goals, and we did the same. And so when it was time to do something, we were constantly butting heads because we wanted to do it our way. That was the main reason. The other reason was she was a little bit unreasonable, but also, like, if we had different skill
Skill sets.
sets, it
Yeah,
would have worked better, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
So, but follow your gut feeling. If you feel that
I'm a
there is something
I'm a
that is not
big believer
working,
of that. Instinct is a
instinct.
combination of wisdom, right, and experience. So you should follow that. It's
Yes,
telling
and
you. It's
the same
telling
with
you something.
tenants. The same with tenants. Sometimes they are amazing on paper, and then you meet them and you're like, something is telling me. I had one that turned out to be a hoarder. Like, she was amazing on paper. She was a hoarder. Then I had one that, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna, I had a feeling that it was bad, and they turned out to be drug addicts. So,
Oh my God.
follow your intuition.
Yeah. Well, Annette, this has been amazing. It's the time has flown by. I'm so happy that you
Absolutely.
were able to be here. I want to come to your meetup. So I'm going to what you said it's the third.
The third Wednesday of the month. I'm going to add you to our email list. That
Yeah.
way you get a reminder every month.
At Duffy's in Delray.
Duff is in Delray Beach. Yes.
And everyone follow the podcast, right? And
Yes, it's
listen to the podcast. So the podcast is the Real Estate Deal Closers podcast.
correct. And it's in YouTube also. We have it with videos, or you can do it Spotify and Apple Podcast, everywhere. My website is tallieinvestments.com. And if you go there, there is a tab where you can get the free resources. There is a free multifamily calculator that you can download for free.
Love that. Thank you so much for being here. I always love meeting women. So the next time we speak, you're going to go from 64 to how many?
Well, I'm looking right now for a 20 unit, but
so a year from now, you're going to be over 100.
that could be the goal. Yes. My goal is to keep buying bigger than that I bought before, unless I find this amazing deal that I cannot refuse.
All right. So next year, over 100. You heard it here.
Yes, you heard it first here.
You heard it first here. All right, Anette, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was amazing.
Bye-bye.
Bye.